Hi and welcome to my tutorial. I'm Shelley and today I am going to teach you how to make a mini album. These are 8.5 by 6 3/4 and 2.5 inch spine, and this tutorial is geared towards a beginner, so you're going to learn step by step, start to finish. The best way I've learned over time how to teach these is actually having the person who's learn right along with you. So in this tutorial, I am going to replicate this album, so you have an opportunity on the materials list of what's needed to make it right along with me. And I've been selling these albums for about 13 months now on eBay. I've had several people ask about tutorials, and so finally I am going to offer one, and hopefully they will get as much enjoyment out of making them as I do. Now, what I sell on eBay is quite elaborate and detailed, and a lot of time goes into them. This is an example of what I sell on eBay. As you can tell, what we're making today is a little bit different. The difference being is there's more design ideas in the larger, thicker one, and more pages and more techniques. However, in this particular album we're going to learn today, there are a lot of basics to learn, and if you can make this, you can graduate on up to this no sweat. I'm just going to go ahead and give you a quick overview here. I actually made this album with the Heartfelt Creations once upon a time paper collection, and I love Heartfelt Creations. You can't go wrong with it. This album today that we are going to create, let me just open it up here, has a few pages in it, and you won't be spending a month on having to get done one album. We're going to do this all today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera view around to look down over my shoulder right into my workspace and give you a materials list. So get your paper and pen ready, or if you have a camera device, a phone with the camera, snap a picture of the list. And I'm also going to show you the supplies along that go with the materials list. So give me a moment here and I will get the camera set up. Okay, so first let's take a look at what we're going to be making. Again, this is an 8.5 by 6 3/4, and the spine I put on this is 2.5. Now, if I was going to be making a larger album, I would need more pages in it and a larger spine. So we're going to look at what we're going to be making today. And as you can see on the front cover, I used some petaloo flowers, a fabric and paper butterfly embellishment. I've got a clock with the spinner, some leaves. I've got some rhinestone embellishments as a trim. I've got this ornate frame, it's called, by Tim Holtz, and I put my little sentiment in there. On the back we have more trim. Inside, what we're going to be doing is making a pocket, learning how to make the pockets, learning the correct way to make our hinges and our binding. So let's look at the design of this first. And these are picture mats in here. We have a fold out page, not sure if you can see that. There we go. We have a top fold out. We have a tag over here that is behind a small little square piece that allows me to slide it in and out and hold it. We have more embellishments in here. I'm going to take these out for a moment. We have a side pocket that allows us to slip our photo mats in and out. We have different sizes here and tags. We have another page that has a pocket fold out. And we have another page here. We have a double pocket, more embellishments. And we just slide our mats right back in there. And we have another fold out here. And then this is another one of the square little tags. So let's go over our materials list. Now, as I said, this tutorial is geared for beginners. So if you made them before, this may be a little slow for you, but you may find some designing techniques or the way I bind is better than how you do it. I'm not sure. There's so many ways to do it, and I make them different ways as well. If you got your pen and paper out, or if you have a phone that has the camera, I'm going to move this aside and bring this up as best I can. Sorry. I think you can snap a photo of this. So, and I'm going to go over these one by one. Okay, I'm going to go over these one by one now and show you where they were used in this album. Of course, you don't have to use the exact supplies I used. You can use your own paper. The only caution is don't use cheap paper. Use printed cardstock. You'll get your best results. You're not going to have waves in your paper, and there are ways to make an album with cheap, flimsy paper. I don't do it, though. Okay, so first on our list was the Heartfelt Creations, Once Upon a Time 12 by 12 paper pad. Now again, that's optional. If you want to produce what I just did, because I'm going to make this again, and it's easiest to learn, like I said before, if you learn right along with the person teaching it. But any paper will do. Heartfelt Creations is a paper line I didn't even know existed until I had my own hobby and craft store. You can't go wrong with this paper. It's hard to make an ugly album. The paper does most of the work for you. It's great to work with, and I just can't say enough. It's one of my favorite brands. So, the Once Upon a Time paper pad is right here. Now, it's pretty deceiving, these pads. I think they could have done a better job with how they designed the cover to make it more attractive, because I'll tell you, had I just walked into a store and found it, I probably would have just passed it by unless my rep came and showed me what was on the inside. This is just a great paper, though. I can't say enough about it. I used it. I actually, in making this, I only used half a pad. Now, if you're going to add more pages in this, you're going to probably need a full pad. When I make mine that I sell on eBay, I use at least one pad. Sometimes I'm going into a second pad, depending on my design and what I'm doing. Then the next thing is 2 sheets of medium weight black chipboard. Since we're not learning how to wrap the edges in this tutorial, the black chipboard's great. It accents beautifully, and it's a great quality. Now, this is the black chipboard, and you're going to need 2 sheets. If you're accident prone, get a third. You should be just fine, though, with 2 sheets. My hobby and craft store, and I'm going to give you that information too. It's J&S Hobbies and Crafts, and you can buy online, and or you can call in the store, and I have that set aside to show you in just a moment. Your best bet on this chipboard is to buy it in value packs. Now, if I went to the store and I decided to buy 2 sheets of the medium weight black chipboard, I may be spending $1.50 to $1.99 a sheet. Buy the value pack. I know my hobby store sells a 25 pack. There's 25 in a pack for like $10.99 online. You can't beat that, because if you're going to make other craft projects, albums, this is the stuff you want. Okay. The next was, you're going to need a package of coordinations, 8.5 by 11 smooth black cardstock, black cat. And
Where this is used is your base pages, in your hinges, you're behind your picture mats, you're using it for, again, your fold-out pages, everything. So you use quite a bit of this. I back all my mats and tags with the black cardstock, and it just, it makes it thicker, better quality, in my opinion. And here it is. Now you can get, I'd get the value pack once again. You can get this, there's 50 sheets in this pack, and I think it's only like $3.99, and it's good stuff, and you want the smooth texture. The next is a package of score tape. Now, score tape. Where you're going to be using this is to keep your album together so it does not fall apart. I don't use this on using it as an adhesive for my picture mats and stuff. I use something else that isn't quite as expensive to use. I mean, this isn't expensive. It's the 1/4 by 27 yards long, but you don't need this heavy duty stuff. Reserve it for your bindings. Let's see, if you use anything else, you can use hot glue, but I don't recommend it for beginners. You're going to have a mess on your hands with squirting out the sides, burning yourself. Score tape is what the majority of people use to hold their albums together. It's strong. The next is a score buddy or any other scoring board and tool. Here's an example of one. If you make cards, you probably already own one. If not, if you're going to be making an album or even cards with leftover papers that you might have, you need this for the album. You really do. I couldn't produce the albums I do unless I had this. And what this is for is for when I'm making my strips for my hinges. It scores it for me so I'm getting an even hinge. That way my papers aren't all cattywampus every which way. And they're also used for scoring and on these fold-outs and giving it the spacing it needs so you have space and you're not having liftage all over the place. So this is a mandatory tool. And what's good about this one, it's very popular, number one, is number two, it comes with the scoring tool needed. And this one, I think, yeah, it comes with the little cover case for it as well. The next thing is a paper cutter. Now, paper cutter, your choice. I use a heavy duty one because I actually use mine to cut my medium chipboard to size. However, if you don't have a paper cutter that will handle both cutting your paper and your chipboard, it dulls your blade or it just isn't going to work. You of course are going to need a craft knife, or, your ruler you'll be using, and measuring it out with the pencil. And I'll show you both ways too. Okay, the next thing is a cutting mat or a work table mat. And I'm going to get mine out here in just a moment, but if you're going to be using your crafter's knife, for sure you're going to need a cutting mat so you don't cut your counters or your work area. I use mine just to keep my counters clean from adhesives, since I do cut my chipboard with my stuff, and right now I'm getting it out. Next thing is a ruler. I'm going to put this aside here. A ruler, and you're going to need one that's going to show you in inches. You've got your 16ths, your 8ths, ½ inch. You're going to need all that on there, and I'll just bring it up here. And then, okay, so this is your Scotch glue stick, permanent glue stick, okay? You'll need a couple of these. This is the cheaper way to go. This is what you'll be using to glue down the black cardstock to the back of your picture mats and to the back of your tags. This is not going to be used to glue down your actual printed pretty papers to the album. You're going to use score tape for that. And this is really good. Now I know if you buy from me at my hobby store, if you buy $40 worth of material, I throw one in free. If you hit $70 or $75 worth of materials, you get 2 free. So there you go, you got it. If you don't like using the roll-on type, because it's messy, it gets on your fingers, and you don't like that, you can always use something like this. It's this one's Adtech Permanent Bond Glue Runner, and this is not to be used on your binding or attaching your base pages to your spine. It won't hold it. All it's good for is for holding down, you know, on your picture mats, your backing and whatnot. I wouldn't trust it for anything else. It's just good for that. And if you want to go this route, you would need one of these, and these are refillable, so you're going to want to get the refill pack. She'll probably go through 1, 2 of these to do an album, depending on how you use it. And the next thing is you'll want a hot glue gun. Now, you don't have to have an expensive hot glue gun for this crafting of the scrapbook albums. I have been using for over 2 years a $3.99 low temp hot glue gun, and then I use the multi-temp glue sticks to go in it. It's lasted this long, it holds down the embellishments, and I haven't had a problem. Okay, so I am going to show you here where one package of Tim Holtz Crinkle Ribbon. Now that's optional. Here is what it looks like. And then I have an open package of it as well, and I'll show you. I used that here, and I'm not sure if you can tell or not, but my ribbon is crinkled. And I used it for my tags, the ribbon tie, and just in other places through here. This is optional. You don't have to have it. And why they call it crinkle ribbon is you can mist this and crinkle it up. I didn't mist mine. I didn't need a serious crinkle effect. All I did was roll what I wanted in my palm of my hands like this. If I can get it going here. And I've got a crinkling effect, as you can see. And that was just my personal choice. Again, any little ribbon for your album, tags, whatnot. I'm hoping my next tutorial will be a little better than this. This is my first one, so bear with me, everyone. One package of the Tim Holtz clock faces is what I used. And right here, this is a clock face. They're heavy-duty metal. You can't bend these with your hand. They come in a package of 5. I use them all the time in my albums. They don't come with the clock hands or the brads. You buy that separate, but you don't always have to buy the little extras. I like it. You can glue anything in the middle to hide that hole. Now, what I did use is the Tim Holtz game spinners. Now, they're called game spinners, but I used it as the clock hands, and they do come with the brads that you need to hold it down, to push through, allowing you to still be able to turn this. And the next thing was, okay, so I jumped ahead, a package of the Tim Holtz ornate plates. That's this. And I use these almost on every album now. They're wonderful. They're a great embellishment for the spine, and they do come with the brads that you need. There's 3 different, looks like silver, gold, and like I guess that's a copper color in there, brass color in there, but you have a variety of the squared or the oval in there, and I used the silver oval here. And you don't have to just reserve it for here. I could have used it on the front. I could have used it inside. These never go to waste. These are, I recommend these for your albums. They just make them more personal and pretty. Okay, the next is a hole puncher. Any hole puncher will do. Okay, all you're doing is punching a hole for your tags to run your ribbon through. I'm using an extra small hole. The standard size works just as well. You're going to need a pair of scissors, of course. Now, the flowers. What I used in this were a package of, it's by Petaloo, floral embellishments. They are like a fabric flower, and this is the mauve, and I use blue. And you can also, this particular package has the blue-green in it, and this would go just as well with this, but I did use the blue here. And when I remake this album today, I'm going to use the blue-green. It's your choice. There's other colors, so it's optional for you. And I did use it in the book and stuff. I think there were a few left over by the time I could use on other projects. Okay, now for this. This is Bling on a Roll, and it comes in a, let's see, how many yards is here? 10 yards. And what you do is you just clip off what you need. So I have an already cut piece that I had done, but right here, and it's in a single. And I'd go as far as even cutting them down to only needing 3 links for maybe the middle of a butterfly or whatnot. But this, I use this all the time. You can't go wrong, and it lasts forever. And I use it sometimes right on the pockets inside the album. So it works out really good in helping to embellish and brighten your pages. Okay, next is, and I think that's only like $3.99 a package, and you get so much, you can't go wrong. Also in here, as you notice, I got this fancy edge puncher going on here. This is optional, but if you're wanting to dress up your album, you can buy these anywhere. I sell them. This is the Martha Stewart Deep Edge Punch, and this is the Fans and Flourishes style. And I use this all the time. What's neat about this is that it's Martha Stewart's punches, they're not cheap. I only run one piece at a time so that I preserve the life of my puncher. It's going to last forever. But with these deep edge punches, they also fold up for so they store away nicely, and they are quite heavy duty. But that's what I used in here. And I use in all my albums some sort of deep edge punch to just make it more special. Okay, now for the ribbon ties here, I used I think this is like 2-inch ribbon. It's your choice. You can go half this size if you wanted, any color you want. I used black on this, and my next one I will be using black when I replicate this here with you. And any color, it's your choice. There's no set standard to these. It's hard to make one look bad. All right, here we go. And there are other options, like when I don't want to use the tie off, I have used these. And you get 3 in a package, but they are the extra large hook and eyes. And these are in like a gold color. And the idea of that is like on my other album. Let me show you. For instance, on this particular album, and I'll just briefly take you through it too so you can see all the neat things that you can incorporate into your next album or the one you're making now. I used it right here. These are black ones, fabric black ones. All I did was I ran the ribbon under the paper in the back and under the front, and I looped it around, and there's my closure. For those of you that don't like tie-offs, that's an option. And this album, these are just some ideas of what you can do. This particular album, I put magnetic closures in. Right here you'll see the outside one. You can hide them if you want, but I kept it there to keep this closed. And these are just some neat ideas that you can do. And trim. And here, all I did was I cut out a piece of the pretty printed paper, and this is Heartfelt's Creations as well, and I think this was called Sunny Day. And then I backed it with some black cardstock and made it kind of so you can see a little to separate between. And then here's just a pocket. Here is a fancy idea for a fold out. It's actually a very large fold out, but as you can see, and I used a pretty border, but this one also has a waterfall attached to it, this fold out. And how that kind of works is you just fold them out. And this is one way to do it. And there's another way to do these waterfalls as well. So that's a designing option. And you may just want to wait until I do my next video, because that one is going to be super decked out like one of these. And I think I'm going to use graphic 45 paper for that. This one has a magnetic closure, and as you can see here, we're going to flip both the pages out. And underneath it, you've got a pocket here, there's a pocket here to put my tag in. And then this page just has two fold out with pockets on the inside. And this is another double pocket. So these are just some extra added ideas for you. You can see. And then here is another waterfall. All right, so we've got our materials list. We are ready. And we are going to start with the chipboard. So if you give me just a moment here, I'm going to pause this video so I can clean up the area so I'm able to work efficiently under the camera. Thanks. Okay, so I did notice on my material list, because I did review this, what was missing. You are going to want to add a couple things or make a note if you took a picture of this, but Prima flowers, the butterflies. You're going to need a pack of those if you're replicating what I did, or if you just want to embellish yours as the same. I used 2 out of this pack, so I'll have 2 for another project. And these are made by Prima Flowers. I do sell these. I sell actually everything that you've seen here, except for a couple things like paper punchers and whatnot. I did go over the game spinners, but it wasn't actually typed out on this sheet, so the Tim Holtz game spinners. And one thing I wanted to point out is you can use these in a variety of ways. You don't just have to use them for the clocks. You can actually use these brads, put them through the spinner, put them through your paper on one of your main pages, and use it to turn and hold down a fold out or something else like that. So I use these a lot. I did embellish on my cover. I used some paper leaves, and I will be selling these soon on my site. Maybe by the time you get there, they'll be there. These I just used, and I clipped them off and I tucked them underneath. And the ones that I'm going to be selling might be already pre-cut for you. Okay, where to buy your materials. I probably should have started with this first, but it wasn't a priority. The materials list I really wanted to go over with you so you knew what you were going to be getting into here. Quick reference guide. My husband and I, we own J&S Hobbies and Crafts. We're located in Vancouver, Washington, and it's in the United States and more on the West Coast. We're open Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time. Here's our phone number in case you need to call in and order. We do take Visa and MasterCard, but your billing address does have to match your shipping address. You do have to actually have the card in your hand because I'm going to be asking for information on the front and the back of that credit card. If you want to find us online, we have a business eBay store, and it's not a bidding activity there. You just buy it now. And our eBay ID is, and I'm going to bring this up a bit. If you do a search, do an advanced search by seller, and you will type it in just like you see it, JS-Hobbies-and-crafts. And that will bring up our store, and you can bookmark us or whatnot. An easier way, if you have a Facebook account, just go to Facebook and do a search under J&S Hobbies and Crafts. There are no dashes, okay? or if you're looking for me personally, Facebook, you can do a search, Designs by Shelley, and this is how I spell my name. And there's links to my auctions there, and you can get some ideas, see some paper collections I've used, and or buy an album. It's up to you. Okay, so I've got my coffee now. I'm ready to go. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to start off with this chipboard. Okay. The first cuts we're going to be making is an 8.5 inch cut, and this is a 12 by 12 medium chipboard. Okay. I use a heavy duty paper cutter because I'm really no good with the crafter's knife. I've tried and I've tried, and I guess I'm too much of a perfectionist, and I don't like it. So I've resorted to using a heavy duty paper cutter that will handle cutting my medium chipboard and also cutting my paper. This is the one I keep at home. The one I have at my shop is a Fiskars, and it's the more expensive one, but I have not had to replace the blades on that, and I just zoom it right on over and we're good to go. Okay, so everyone, get your paper cutter out, or get your craft knife, your ruler, and your pencil ready to go here. If you are using the crafter's knife and the ruler, the best thing to do here is to measure 8.5 inches down, pencil it at one point, do it up here as well at the top, 8.5 inches. So we're going to get a straight line in 8.5 inches. Then you just go ahead and you would make you'd line up your, so you can get a even cut. I didn't even cut down here. Even here we go. Anyway, if you line them up, your little pencil marks, because we can always erase them. Now you know you're going to have a straight cut. And when using the craft knife, you're going to make light cuts to start, so you get your groove going. And you pretty much just let your craft knife do the work for you, and you just cut it. So I'm using the paper cutter. So I want 8.5 inches. And okay, I got my first thing. Do not throw away your scraps because you can use those. Okay, now I'm going to flip it the other way, and I want a 6 3/4 inch. So I'm going to hang on to this guy here, and I got it cut. There's my front cover. Okay, the leftover piece, which is smaller, I think it's 5 1/4 by 8.5. Hang on to it. You can make another album, smaller width, and there's no waste. Those of you using the craft knife, you measure down 6 3/4 and cut it, and you will have your. Now, if you're using the craft knife and you find that you get off track and there's some scoring from the blade or whatnot, don't worry, because we're to flip the bad side in towards the spine when we bind them all together, okay? And you won't be able to see it. So I'm going to go on and get my second piece of chipboard, and I'm going to do the same thing. I want an 8.5. Sometimes it gives me problems and does not want to go all the way through, but just enough. So I'm going to help it out a bit there. There. As you can see, I'm going to have a rough edge on this. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to worry about it because nobody's going to see that. Okay, so now the next cut is 6 3/4, like we did the first time. All right. So here are my 8.5 by 6 3/4, my front cover, my back cover. I'm reserving this piece, which is 5 1/4 by 8.5, for another album. one of these is in reserve. Here is our spine, and we need to cut this down to 8.5. Okay, you'll end up with a square, little square. Reserve it in case you want to use it. Okay, so right now we're sitting at about 3.5 inches. Okay, to make this album that I'm teaching, we're going to cut this down to 2.5 inches. Okay, if you are going to add more pages to your album, keep it at 3.5 inches. You don't need to do anything else. Okay. That way it's going to give you enough spacing in your album to accommodate more pages, okay? But for this album, if you're making it exactly like I am, we're going to cut it down to 2.5 inches. And that way it's still going to give us plenty of room on the inside if you want to add more chunkier embellishments or just fill it up with photos. It's going to hold it. Okay, so there's my spine. Alrighty. Now, so we've got all of these pieces, and how we are going to assemble them is your spine's going to be in here, and my rough edge, I'm going to point inward so nobody's ever going to see that. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to bind it all together. Okay, set these aside. Let's get our premium smooth textured cardstock. And you're going to want to keep this handy nearby because we will be using a lot of this for the inside and what we're going to do. Right now we're going to concentrate on, let me get my board here. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually 1, 2, grab 5 sheets. 1. Right now, just grab 5 sheets out. Put 4 aside. Okay. Go ahead and turn it up. Okay, so 8.5 by 11. We are going to cut this down just a sliver off, and it's going to be 8 and let's see, what do we want to do here? Actually, just leave it at 8.5. Cut a 2-inch strip. I was thinking we were going to do something else here, but we're not. We're going to do this the easiest possible way. So leave it alone. We want that length. We're going to cut it, hold your paper out like this. We are going to cut 2-inch strip, and I'll show you that here in a minute. So I'm going to cut 2 2-inch strips, and this is going to be the easiest. And your leftover paper, just hold it off to the side. So what you've got here is 2 strips. They're 2 inches wide, okay, and they're 8.5 long. If you notice, the 8.5 long is going to match your front and back covers. This is where your Score Buddy comes in. This is the Score Buddy I use. It's the bigger one. So I do bigger projects sometimes that I actually need the extra room to lay a paper flat. Okay, so we've got our strip here. All I'm going to do is I'm going to score it right down at 1 inch in. Okay, I'm going to turn this, I'm right-handed. So I'm going to hold it down, it's flush against the side. And that's all I'm going to do there. Take my second strip here. Do the same thing. Okay. I am going to fold this. Okay. All right. There. Now, let's all line it up, and I'm going to show you where it's going to go here. There we go. This strip is actually going to be right here, okay? Because it's only cardstock, no worries, because we still have yet to do the outside of the spine, and everything is going to hold together. On my bigger albums, sometimes I'll double up here, or sometimes I use Tyvek, okay? But for this is what we're going to do. So this is where score tape comes into play. Let's find our score tape. Where did I put it? There it is. You're going to need your scissors. Okay. Now what I want you to do is the crease is down. Go ahead and flip it over like this and push it down a little. Okay, you can remove this out of your way if you need to. I'm working in a very small cramped area with the camera over my shoulder, so it's easier for me just to move it aside. Okay. This. Now, okay, you are going to put it right at the edge there, as you can see, okay, all the way down. So I hope you're following along with me here. Okay. And I'm not going to be stingy with this, because this is a very important part of keeping your album together. Okay. Now you're gonna not want to don't put it right on the crease here. You're gonna get 3 strips of this 1/4 inch in here. Okay. So don't get it right on the crease, just right on the inside. It's good. Okay. Okay. I'm going to do the same for the other side. Alright, one down, and we're going to get this on the album. Make sure, redo my creases here, that it's down. So grab one side. Remember, if you have rough edges from cutting, put your rough edge on the inside, okay? And just line them up like this, as you would. Now, what I always do is to make sure that I get this where I want to do is first I make sure my cut was right, so I'm not overhanging over the chipboard. And it looks like I'm pretty darn square on here for 8.5. Okay, here is where the seam is. Okay, what I'm going to do now, and the easiest way to do this is to look at it so you don't do it backwards. Okay, easiest way to look at this is it's going to be your hinge here, okay? So I'm going to adhere down this side first. But the easiest way is don't peel off all your tape at once. It might get away from you and go crooked or just not work. And only peel it down so far, okay? And then we'll peel it down the rest. And this is what I do, because it's very important at this stage, and I'm just dropping this on the floor because I'm going to have to sweep here a little bit anyway. Okay. So, to make sure I'm doing it the right way, I'm not putting it here and putting the hinge on wrong. I know it's going to lay like this. Now I've taken off the top part. Okay, what I want to do is grab it like this. Okay, and I'm going to come just to the edge and line it up. Press it down where I have the glue, the adhesive off. Okay, just do that. Now that I have that down, and it's going to be straight down because I'm going to guide it straight, it's easier to just pull your tape off. Okay, and help it down. That way you're not crooked, because like I said, it's very important what we're doing right now to try to be as accurate as you can. If you're a little off, it's not going to ruin your project. You don't have to waste what you've already done. Okay, if it's a lot off, you're going to have to tear it out and redo your strips. Okay, so now I've got this ready to go. I'm going to butt this up. Okay, and this is the easy part, and you want to keep it flush. I do. This is the part where you can just hold it down. Don't let it get away from you yet. Taking my strips off. Okay, so now I got this butted up. This is going to flap over easy and just smooth it down. Okay, look. Do not bend it back the wrong way and try to hinge it back the way it's not supposed to go. You'll ruin your album. Okay, there's only one way your album's supposed to open and close. Okay, all right, so I've got this side on. I'm ready to do this one. And if you need to pause this video or stop it, bookmark it, I think you can pause it on YouTube and come back to it if needed. All right. If I'm going too fast, pause would be a good thing so that you can catch up. Trying to do this slow. It's funny, when you change your speed about doing stuff, you actually do worse when you're used to going a little faster. I'm finding that, so. But this is all good. It's coming along perfect. All right. Okay. Now we're ready to get our other side on. Okay. We're going to do the same thing we did before, and that's peel off. Like I said, make sure you're going the right way here, your hinge, whatnot. I'm right-handed. It's just easier for me to always start on the right. So, bring this down. Now, in the 13 months that I've been offering my albums on eBay, I think I've sold close to 130, 140 within that 13 months. You will find, as I've found, that you will get better doing this. Every album you do, you learn something new, you get better, and you find your own style that works. Okay, here we go. I'm going to line it up at the edge. Also, I wanted to tell you that I'm a member of the Paper Hen House, also known as TPHH, and you can search them out on Facebook. But what it is we're a group of ladies who sell their items on eBay, and if you visit their Facebook page, you will see some incredible works of art. And it's not just mini albums. You'll find altered art, card making, and a lot of different techniques. And just a great bunch of people. And I've been with them, I think, close to a year now. Okay. So I'm making sure this is butted up and it's even flush. And now I can just flap that over. So here's what we got. Pretty easy. Now the inside. And this is the part that you need to be as efficient and perfect as possible. If you're a little bit off, don't worry about it. This is your first album. If your pages aren't exactly straight, it happens. You know, it's not going to ruin the album unless they're considerably off, and then you're going to run into problems with it actually opening, shutting correctly. Okay, so I had you pull out 4 sheets. Okay, we're going to cut our base sheets, our base pages, excuse me. Okay, we're not going to have 8.5 tall base pages, because then what you're doing is running the risk, if you're just a hair off, you're going to stick out the top. And plus it looks really nice when you have a little bit of a gap up here and then your pages are all the way down. It's just really nice book look, clean. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. What I do want to do is cut my base pages, and I always cut them, the black base pages, the same, so that when I'm cutting into my pretty cardstock, it's a real easy to remember cut. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to turn this. Okay, I want all my paper in here to be an even cut of an 8x6 cut. So what I'm going to do here, because I like to have a little border around my pages, it brings out the colors in the paper, is I'm going to cut this to, oops, and you can cut them separately, I probably should. We're going to go 8 and an 1/8, okay? So first cut is 8 and an 1/8, and then we want to go 6 and an 1/8. Okay. So, and you're going to have a smaller piece left over. Perfect. We're going to use that for card mats. Okay? So there's no waste. All right. I'm going to cut my other one. And I'm going to cut it long ways first. 8 and 1/8 by 6 and 8. Here's my second. And this old paper cutter doesn't actually give me 8s and 6, or it gives me 8s, but it doesn't give me 16ths. And I don't really need that right now. But I've learned to get around that on this one. The one at my work, the Fiskars, is awesome. Okay, so here is my 4th page by 6 and 8. Okay, so you will have some strips like this. I always say, keep all your scraps until you're done with the project, because you never know what you're going to need. In our case, we're not going to need these. I am going to toss them. Okay. So, I'm going to move this off to the side and show you this book. Each one of these represents 2 pages, a front and a back, just like when you're reading a book. Page 1, page 2. Okay, so being the case, there's 2, 4, 6, 8. The inside and the back inside cover our pages because we do decorate those and they are usable. So that makes 2 more. There'll be 10 pages total to this album. And we're going to set these aside. Now what we need is our hinge pieces to hinge this onto the spine of our book. Okay, again, score tape necessity. Unless you are a glue gun guru like I am, I like using the glue gun and quick at it. But however, I risk ruining an album as well by having glue seep out the sides if I'm not careful, or the glue sets before I can get the paper down, and then you've got a big lump under the paper. So score tape is ideal. It's what the majority use. It's clean. All right, hinges. Now you should have a reserve piece from when you were cutting your strips here. Okay. What we're going to want to do with this is we want this, the height, to be 8 1/8, just the same height as your pages. Okay, so your hinges aren't all flipping out. So I'm going to cut that down. Okay. Each one of these hinges are going to hold 2 of your papers. So you're only going to need 2 hinges. So let's do, cut your length to 8 1/8, or 8 1/8. Now we're going to do 2-inch strips, and you're going to need 2 of those, okay? So, there's 1. And there's the second one. And I have a piece left over. If you've cut yours differently, and I'm going to keep this because I can use it. So I've got 2 of these, okay? Now the best thing to do is to always double check your measurements before you start gluing down, or you don't want to waste your really heavy duty adhesive. So let's just make sure that I cut this the right way. We want it, the first thing I'm checking for is to make sure it's as tall as my paper, and it is. We're good. And the second one I cut should be the same, and it is. Okay, so we're ready. We want our scoreboard now. Okay. We're going to allow, like I did in that one, we're going to allow, let's see, what did I do here? Down here. There we go. We want, if you put it on your score pal, here's your 2-inch mark, okay? I want you to cut at 1 1/4, not cut, score at the 1 1/4. Okay? Keep it there. Then I want you to do the, here is half, and I'm going to have you score it. Here's the half mark. Here is the 3/4, okay? But what we want is that 1/8. Not 1/8, it would have been 1. Yeah, right there. Okay. Here we go. So let me do this so you can see better what I'm doing here. Okay. 1 1/4. Okay, here's our half mark. Okay, right here. All right. The spacing in between is up to you. I did this space this wide between the pages to allow you to be able to embellish this album as you want it, to give you enough space to work in and not be so tight and compacted, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and carefully get our, where we scored it, we're going to crease it, these two. Now, okay, so this is what I've got here. All right. You're going to need to figure out your top and your bottom. This is my bottom, this is my top. Okay? You're going to want to bring this down to where you're not totally flush with the bottom, but maybe a 1/16 from the bottom edge up. Okay? And that's going to leave us some headroom here. Okay? If you don't like having this strip in between, okay, if it bothers you, put another strip in here. It doesn't bother me, okay? It's not going to impact my album any or make it ugly. So I need my score tape. And before, I always put my hinges, binding, all this down first before I put the pages to them. It's easier that way. So what you're going to want to do so that you do your hinges correctly is, if you have it like this, flip it upside down. Okay? Now, if you notice, now this is just for, here, I just want to make sure my thing's correct. Yep, and we will have plenty of room. Perfect. Okay. Take them, flip them over like I had you doing, okay? Now you can softly flatten it out, not totally, just so that you can work with it. You can move your album out of the way. Okay, this is where we are going to put the adhesive. The middle only. Do not get these sides, okay? Just the middle is what we're going to work with. I hope you can see this okay. My hands are all in the way. And I do need my scissors. So I'm going to turn it a little because I'm right-handed. And I've got this camera at my forehead almost. Okay, so right on the inside, do not get it on your crease. Okay, that's not where we want it. Get it close to it. Okay, and I'm running 2 strips down the middle here. Okay, this is probably the most difficult part of your making of your album. Don't let it discourage you. Okay, the more you do, the faster you're going to be. I'm used to putting this whole thing together in less than 15 minutes. I'm going at a slower speed, so I actually do have to stop and think for a moment to verbalize what I'm trying to do. So what I want to do here now is, because I don't want a gap showing, is this is a great time to be my marker, okay, the edge of this. So just like we did before, we're going to pull only a little bit back, okay. All right. Now, don't just stick it down like this. I've never been able to get it on straight, and then everything's crooked, and then I'm ended up having to tear out everything, okay? What I do is I hold it like this, and I pinch down one side, okay? This is how I'm able to see where I need to be. Now, before you go sticking this, look at your bottom. you don't have your adhesive undone under there, so measure it up about a 1/16 from the bottom. But this is where you can use your fingers now to line up here, as you can see, so that your seam doesn't show. Okay, and then you're going to press it down. Okay, now let's go ahead and remove the rest of this, and we'll guide it all the way down the sheet. Okay, so I'm going to carefully guide this down, and voila, perfect. That's what I wanted. Okay, so let's put the tape on this one. The funnest part of these albums is actually getting past this, having your book ready to go, and then designing. I just love designing. Like I said, I've made in a year's time, 13 months or so, about 130 albums on eBay, and then probably a good 15, 20 of customs outside of eBay. Now that's a lot of albums in a year's time. But like I said, you grow, you learn your own technique, and you get quick at this. And the only reason why I haven't gotten bored with it is because of the different papers that they have available. I love paper. I hoard it too. I've got a ton of paper stacks. Okay, so now same thing. I'm kind of looking down at what I want to do here. We're going to take the top part off. I can tell you one thing, I could never be a movie star and actress because I don't care for the camera thingy. Same thing, make sure you're even with this one. Right down there, right on the seam. And then just press it down. I do better when I know there's not a camera around, that's for sure. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I've creased it down. This is what we got. Okay, don't worry about one being a little longer than the other. It makes no difference, okay? This is just to get you going. Now, make sure you press down, and you got them down, and we do. Okay, so now we're ready to affix our pages. And this is the easy part, okay? Take your first sheet like this. Where's my score tape? Okay. I'm going to turn it to the side because I got this camera in my view. I'm just going to run it down the long side here, right at the edge. Okay. And if you feel you need to, run a second one. I usually run one and I'm good to go, and everything's stuck because on top of that is glued down again with the other, so it does not go anywhere. But let's do a couple here, and then the next one I probably use just one. Okay, so grab this. This is the easy part. Okay, you see how you have your little crease down here? Okay, all I do is I butt the paper up. I make sure it's even at the top. Okay, bring it up just a hair. And there it is. Okay, this is all I do, so that the flap's just going to come over when I remove this strip. And I am going to remove it all at once. Okay, I'm not going to fight with it. I'm just going to tell it what to do. There, perfect. As you can see, and you've got enough spacing for this. Okay, so I'm a little OCD when it comes to my strips on my paper. Because I have the one flap on this side, I want it on this side too, rather than keep going like this and whatnot. I just do. I don't know why, but so I'm going to be ending up putting my score tape on this side now. And I'm only going to use one strip. It's really all that I have ever needed. So run it down. However, I do see something, and I will show you here in a moment. You may already have seen it. Might be bothering you. As you can see, there's no adhesive at the top of this. So I'm going to go ahead and just snip off a little piece. Put it up there. Make me feel better. I'm sure it ain't going to go anywhere, but alright. There, what happened to it? It did not go anywhere. Okay. It's fine. Okay, one sheet is all I'm going to do. So, just lay your things down flat like this, okay? Pull your flap back. Do the same thing as you would measure it up where you want it. Is it going to lay flat? Is it going to be even at the top? It sure is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the tape. And I'm holding my paper down in place so it does not go anywhere, slide on me. And there. So all I have to do now, and mine slid. Okay, if your slides off like this, don't freak out. It's not the end of the world. Slide it back where it needs to be, just like this. Right in the crease, fold it over. You're good. Okay. Next one. Let's get our piece down here. All right. Down. And your opening and closing at this point really good. If you've got them pretty straight, you're going to be just fine. If you're a little bit off, it's okay, you know. As long as your page isn't shooting off at the top and to where you can't shut and close. I mean, this is your first album, so there you may run into a few things, an error you've made or something slipped and adhered where you didn't want it. So there's always things you can do. Okay, so don't be discouraged. And if I showed you my very first album, because I was self-taught, you would never be discouraged when making one. It's hideous. It's self-taught. I was not smart enough to go on to a tutorial, and I think it cost me around $200 by the time I was done with it. And it is hideous. Every adhesive I should not have used, I used. I think I had 4 paper pads in it, just the wrong type of cardstock, everything you could think of. I might show it to you sometime in another tutorial, give you guys all a good laugh. But it's funny because I held on to it. My husband calls it a memory cake. I call it the never-ending album, and it's every time I open it, something else is coming loose, and I have to try it to fix it. But I've kept it because I learned from it. That everything that could have possibly gone wrong went wrong, and my second album I made was perfect. So, okay, so you've got all your pages in here. Stand up your book. Should look something like that. Okay. Now, if your pages are curling or whatever, don't worry about it, because once we get our heavier cardstock printed pretty paper on top, this side and all that, you're fine. I mean, you know, but don't worry about it. So at this point, you should be able to flatten this down flat. Okay, move it up and over. And this is a test right here. If your book isn't falling apart, you're fine. But we are going to reinforce on this side, okay? And those creases that we made on the hinges, okay, over time, I have found that I have opened and shut mine 1,000 times, either showing somebody an album or the photos in it. I have nowhere. Now, on your next album, if you follow me on my next tutorial, I'll probably double this up. Give it a double because it's going to be a bigger one, like thicker like the other, okay? And I'm going to have heavier things going on in it, more embellishments, and we'll have a nice spine cover like you're going to have here shortly. Okay, at this point, what we want to do is we want to put your ribbon on before we put our paper. So our ribbon is tucked underneath and it's not going anywhere. Okay, so I am going to pause this video for a moment and let you catch up. Hopefully you don't have any questions that I covered everything, but you may. You can always message me on Facebook, Designs by Shelley, to ask any questions if you get stuck. Okay? Alright, quick break, let you catch up, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now, hopefully you have caught up, whether you pause the video or what. We get into our pretty paper. And the first thing that we are going to cut is, looking at this really quick, is we're going to cut a strip of our ribbon to affix to the front and the back. You will need your glue gun for this because that's what I use. It's what holds it the best, for me anyway. Then what we're going to do is we're going to move on and we're going to cut front and back of our pretty paper. And we're going to cut the spine cover. So let's get our ribbon out. I've already got my glue gun fired up, ready to go. And also, if you guys live locally here, where you can walk into my hobby store, J&S Hobbies and Crafts, I'll have a materials list down there you can just pick up. Okay, so this is all a matter of how much you want to hang off the side, okay? I usually, what I do is just measure out about 12 inches, and I cut one side at an angle, okay? And again, you don't have to use black. You don't have to use a tie. You can do it the other way I showed you with the little clasp, the hook and eye, or clasp, whatever you choose. Okay, so here is this, and I can always trim it down when I'm done. I'm just going to flatten down my book here. Okay, this is the top, and I always have to check so I'm not doing things upside down once I get my paper on, because I've done it before. Okay, so move it off to the side. Okay, I have here ribbon that has wire in it. I'm just going to snip off the wire that's going to be here. And I got my old glue gun going here. And I'm just going to center it, and I'm going to put some glue here. And I'm going to just press it down. If you are using a high temp glue gun, be very careful not to burn yourself. Okay. So after I've gotten it down, I just kind of look, do I need a little more here? I'm going to, just a hair. Okay. And I use this low temp because I am accident prone. And I have used a high temp and it was no fun. Okay. You can get rid of your glue strings as you go. I've got that side down. So I'm going to get my other one down, and all I'm going to do is flip it over. And just like this, so I can get them pretty even. I'm going to cut another strip, and I'm just going to measure it up the same and cut. Okay, and here we go. Okay, that's done. I can put the hot glue gun aside, and I've got glue strings. Those are annoying. Okay, here we go. The paper I'm first going to cut. And like I said, I'm using half of a paper pad left over from the first album I made there. I did grab from the shop some extras that I had left over out of another pad just in case I mess up. For you, you have 2 of each one of these papers in here. So if you do mess up on a cut, you have another one to work with. Okay, so I am going to look for now the blue. And there it is. Like with any paper pad, just be careful when you do it out. Okay. And if there's glue residue left over at the top, I just trim it off. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is cut it right down the middle, 6 inches. Okay? And that's what I'm going to do. I do have some residue at the top here, so I'm just going to trim this just a hair to get that residue off. It isn't going to hurt nothing, but it helps me keep my cuts straight. So 6 inches wide. Okay? Put it right down the middle. Okay? So I've got 2 sheets. I know you're thinking at this point, but you're 6 3/4. It doesn't matter, because although we are short on this side, you're going to have your spine cover come over, so it's not going to matter. Okay? What's going to matter now is where you cut down. And we are 8.5 inches tall, but we are going to go a hair underneath that. Okay? So that we have the black border around. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab 2 of these sheets, measure them up the same, and since that is 8.5, I'm just going to bring it down 1/8 underneath 8.5. Okay? And if you notice, when I cut that, we have 2 nice mats here. Okay? You should actually have on the back side this, and it says Once Upon a Time. I know it's cut off a little, but so was mine when I put it on the cover. And we are going to be using this, so do not cut these. Okay? Just set them off to the side for right now. Okay. One's for the back and one is for the front. And if you look closely at this print, you'll notice there's a clock. So I'm just going to make sure my clock is right side up. I'm going to look in to make sure this is the top, this is the front. And it is, so I'm not upside down. Okay. Get your score tape out. And we're going to go right on the edges, all the way down. I'm going to move this out of the way really quick so I can get this nice and straight. Okay, get the other side, and this is the back side of that print. Okay. Okay. Let's see. And my husband and his friend are home. I am going to shut off the door to get a little quieter in here. There, so we can hear. Because I can hear them yapping in the background. All right. Now, you're going to want, because we're going to have embellishments on the front of this, you are going to want to make sure that you put some strips down the middle. Okay? Hold this down good so it doesn't bubble up on you, especially if you have weight on there. Just going to run a few down. I'm going to cut off a piece here. Just cut it in half. Alright, here we go. So, the easiest way is just tuck your ribbons back underneath here. Okay. What I'm going to do is first place this down to see, to make sure that I've got a nice, whoops, there, that will help open it up like that. Get all this out of the way. So that I have a nice border going around. Okay. Now, as I was saying in my next tutorial that I do, that's going to be a little more detailed, fatter, and have a ton more designing ideas in it. I will be wrapping the corners, so you can always check in on that when that's made by visiting Designs by Shelley on Facebook and seeing when I do it. Okay, so I'm pretty good. I have a nice black border going around. Okay, I have it where I want it. Now, all I do is kind of the same technique I did before. I'm going to hold down a little bit. I usually grab it like that. And I'm going to lift off these a little. If I can get it. Huh. Yeah, well, sometimes it wants to cooperate, sometimes it doesn't. So part of it. What I do when that happens is I just push it back down and try to find the edge, and it usually comes down. Snip that off and get it out of the way. Okay. Same thing over here. I have no nails left. I used to have the acrylics on there, and then I had them taken off, and if any of you have had that done, you'll know your nails are pretty torn up and messed up. I just had them all taken down short, and hopefully they'll get healthy again, and so I can have my own nails once again. Okay, so at this point, re-look what you're doing. Okay, I've got half of it down. Now I'm going to go down with it like this. Okay, now I can lift this up and grab the rest of this off, and it should just come right off. Okay. And there you are. It's down. You press it down, and it's not going to come up. Okay. Let's go ahead and do the back. I'm going to flip this over, and we're good there. I might add a little bit of hot glue, just a tad, right under there. Alright, so I'm going to get my second piece out here and do this all over again. I'm going to move this out of the way because I have a feeling I'm going to get this stuck to my cover, and it's not very forgiving. Not forgiving at all. And we really don't want forgiving score tape, because if it was forgiving, it wouldn't be doing its job and holding things together. Alright. Alright. We've got plenty of tape down for the back. Let's take a look. Make sure my clock is upright, and I'm going to take a look here. That is good enough for me. So, okay, mine moved on me, so that's all right. All I'm going to do is come back here at the bottom where it doesn't have the stickies yet. Make sure it is even. Move my head in the picture on it. And that's good. Now, let's get the backing off here. Allergy season is among us. I've been suffering the past couple days. Okay. All right. Let's get, so you should have this done now. Let's get our spine on. As you notice, this is what I use. So let me find that in the book. It's gorgeous paper. I just love it. And I'm going to look for that exact one. Let's see. Oh, I got some extras in here. It's this one. And I'm going to pull it out and show it to you so you can find it too. And I do have some gluey adhesive at the top. This is the one you want. It has the pretty little clocks at the bottom. And then it has the time is short, enjoy the beauty right here. Okay. The cut for this that you're going to want to do is, first of all, I'm going to measure what I have here. 1 3/4 on the front. We have 2 1/2 there, and we have about 1 3/4, just about there. Now, when I'm making these, I don't always use a ruler, okay? I go with what I like, okay? On this particular paper, if you notice that if I was to place it just like this, the clock would end up over there. What I did was I turned it. Okay, I turned it so my clock is over here, so that when I'm doing this, I'm going to have it on this side. Okay, the easiest way when doing these albums is figure out, like for instance, You can measure if it makes you feel better. But what I do is because I like to have the ability to be able to make this whatever I want. Okay, what I usually do is I bring it up just like this against it. Okay, there goes my spinners. Okay, so once I figure out, okay, I want it that far, because I want the clock to show a little, and all I do at that point is stand it up. Okay, I need to bring this over a little more to be happy with where it's. I just hand crease softly, okay, where I want it to be. Okay, at that point, I turn it, and I do the same thing so I can get a soft crease going here. Okay, and then what I do is once I know how much I want to be, is I kind of look down here. Okay, pretty much right about here is where I want to cut it. Okay, but first off, I want to do this. See what I'm doing? Okay, so now I've got some soft creases here. Okay, so I know where I need to be. You can measure at this point. Okay, so I know on this particular one, if the crease is there, I'm almost two inches this time in, and that's fine. So I'm probably going to be almost 2 inches on the other side. Okay, so I've got 2 plus 2.5 plus another 2. We're about 6.5. Okay, so I am going to want to cut my paper down. This is the front crease, the spine. Okay, so I'm going to probably be about 6.5 over here. Following me on that. Okay, so I'll show you again. It's my soft crease. This is going to be the front. Here's the spine, and this is going to be all the excess. So I'm going to lay this down. At 6 inches, I would have plenty of room. Okay, I am going to go to about 6.5, and then I can trim it off from there. So this is what I just cut, just like this. 6.5. Can you see that? Place it down. So the paper was like this. Put it over here, 6.5, and I ran the cutter. Okay. This excess, put it off to the side for now. Okay. Now that I know where I want to be, okay, for the spine, now, and this is the bottom of the front, now, and I know I am 8.5 inches tall, I'm going to cut 8.5 inches, let's see, and I'll have some left over, and I'm going to stick it to the side. So let's see how we did, and then we're going to get the scoreboard out here in a minute. Okay, so let's see how we did here. So, that looks good to me. Once we get it down, it's going to be just fine. So, you have your soft little folds from when you did it. Okay. Now it's time to score it. So get your scoreboard out. You can see where your little, if you need to do a little more where you're supposed to score, then do that. I'm going to score it. And it looks like that's 2 1/4. Okay. Now I am going to, and I know we measured 2, but it isn't going to matter, okay? As long as you have enough to cover. So we're pretty good. Now I grab this. I make sure that my album is square here. And I'm just going to pinch it at the corner to make sure I scored it the right place. And it's right there. And it is not going to line up with anything, so I'm just going to move it over where it will. And right about there. And make sure you're flush up against there. Let's see. Yeah. All right. Move that out of the way. So now that I've scored this, I'm just going to grab it, make sure that I go down pretty even on my score line. And I think I am. If you get a little bit off, it's not going to hurt anything. If you're a lot off, you may be able to see it. Okay? All right, now what we need is our tape. Okay? So let's turn this over and get our score tape, because we never want this to ever lift. It's permanent. My crease is right here, so you guys know where it is. I'm not putting it right on the crease because we want our album to be able to open and shut and not be gapping as much at the corners. Okay, I'm going to put one right about here, and I'm leaving a little bit because I'm going to run a score tape right along here, so I'm going to leave a little bit of a headroom there. And we're going to run it right here. Now I do these in sections because the front, the back, when I'm putting the tape down, because I don't want it on my creases. So I don't like it on my creases. I don't like how the album turns out. So now I am on the inside of the crease for the spine. My score's right there. And we want one down the middle, but leave a little headroom again because we are gonna alrighty. Now on the back side, the back inside. Okay, so what we're going to do is bring this back over and double check ourselves. Looks pretty good. Okay, so because we're going to start with the front, okay, we're going to do the top first. That's where I always start. And I'm going to pull it down a little. Hello, what's wrong with this? It's not being kind. There it is. All right. Now I'm just doing the front panel. I'm not going to take off the adhesive for the spine. Okay. Now, before you start sticking, put it on there where the adhesive isn't stuck. Okay. Recheck to make sure. Don't push it over yet. Put your finger down at the bottom to make sure you're not going to go too far. Okay, make sure you're even. Now, go ahead and press down the top portion. Okay. Now this may be harder for you. The spine, we're going to take all the adhesive off at once. Okay. And same with the back. But we need to finish up this front, and this is not going to hurt it by bending it back. Okay, so don't worry about your paper as long as you're not creasing it. It's not going to hurt it one bit. Oh, I see what I did. Got the score tape over the other. There we go. Alright, put your album up again. Just do it normal. Now just press down. If it's easier for you just to do it like this, go ahead. Okay. Turn your album over. Let's get off all the adhesive for the spine. Okay. And we are going to do this last section in a section. We'll peel off the adhesive after we get the spine down. Alright. The best way that I've found to do the spine is just to hold on to your book like this. And just wrap it over. Get the top, get the bottom, smooth it down. You won't have any crinkles. Okay. Okay. For the back, we're going to take off all the adhesives, the back panel. Whoops. Well, that's a heck of a deal. There it is. That's, okay. Whoops. Okay. Now you've got all the adhesive off. Hold your book like this. Okay. Just bring it over. Just like you would, just wrap it around. Now, once you got it down, just smooth it out. Okay? You should have something like this now. It looks good. Now, let's take a peek at, oh, I have a mess going on here, don't I? Okay. I've got to scoop some of this stuff, and I'm just going to onto the floor because I am going to be cleaning that up soon. Now, we are going to affix our, oh shoot, come on, bling on a roll, and we need the glue gun for that. That's what I use. Okay, we're only going to put a short strip here and a short strip up here because we have embellishments that are going to be covering it, and we don't really need to waste. So let me find my bling on a roll. Matter of fact, I have this. So I cut off a piece already, so I am going to just snip off what I think I need. And that should be just fine for here. Now, if you have a high temp glue gun, please be careful. I have a low temp and I can still burn myself. I just put a little teeny bit, okay? Because I have a low temp, I have to be quick or it will settle and dry. And I just try to be as straight as I can. Okay. Here we are for the top. And I don't need this long of a piece. Okay, so I'm going to cut it probably right around here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm running out of glue. So, oops. All right. The next thing is I want to get this. Now, you have a piece that was left over. There's two pieces that were left over out of our cut this side. Flip them over. Find the one that has this. Okay, if you cut way too much off where the O is gone, use your other piece of paper that you have left in your paper pad. But if you notice, this is, whoops, this is cut off. And this is still going to work. So all I'm going to do here is cut this piece out. Okay. There. And then I'm just going to go around the piece as best I can. Okay, so we have this. Okay. Now, out of your leftover cardstock that you had already saved, because we're going to keep all our scraps until we are done with the project. Okay. And if you do get glue strings around here, well, that's not unusual. Just pick them off. Okay, they won't hurt nothing. They're just more of an annoyance. So what I'm going to do is I like to use my paper cutter so that the next time when I cut this, it's going to be square. So I'm just going to cut this, excuse me, I'm going to leave about a 1/16 of an inch on both sides up here and here. Okay. So I'm going to cut that really quick. Now this is all what my personal taste. So you can do whatever you want. You know, you can change the theme, whatever. And if you're using your own paper and stuff, you probably have something else. So right now what I have is a rectangle. This is left over. At this time, your glue stick or your little glue runner will work for this. So all I do is I just flip this over. And I make sure I get the edges good. Okay. I'm just going to leave me a little black edge around each, and I can trim it down if it's too much. And as you can tell, it no longer mattered that I had some cut off. Okay. So I am going to now trim around as best I can. And this is the easiest way for me. And it does not have to be perfect. Okay. I'm going to wrap those back around. Okay. So I've got both of these side by side. Okay. And it looks like I came up, the bottom edge being about 4 inches up, okay? I don't have to be exact, okay? I'm just going to stick this thing right here, okay? And pretty much what's going to work is anything you got. If you have the glue gun still in your hand at this point, put a little glue underneath there. Right now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how this works. And you don't need to have both, but in case you're questioning it. Okay. Just put a little here and a little there. And we are good. Alright. So, and I'm just going to stick it right here. Okay? Alright, the next thing I want to do in this layering process is the clock face. And I'm going to open up, I used a larger clock face on this, and it's actually this one. So, and I am going to use the same one. I could use a different one if I wanted, but let me get that out. And then the rest I will have for either inside or another album. Alright. This is done. I'm just going to stick this all back in its package.